Well, it's just Stephanie. All right. I haven't updated you guys on my study plans in a while. Wow, it's really dark in this spot. Okay, how's that? All right. Yeah, so here is the thing. I have been making weekly goals. I feel like I've been making HSK goals, which means for HSK1 I wanted to do this and I had this amount of time. So in my brain I did divide it up by weeks, but I didn't actually write them down. I did write them down per week, but I haven't been sharing my weekly goals with you. Why is that happening? I don't know. So I have a new HSK2 study plan. I am taking the test. I don't know why I'm talking so loud. Nobody's here. Do you know why? Because upstairs they've been doing construction for about a month now, and they, oh, thank goodness, are doing it just during the day. But it starts at like 7:30 in the morning and it finishes at like 5:36. By then I'm so worn out from hearing it all day, I don't even realize it's done until I find myself talking really loudly, either to a video camera or to somebody on the phone or to whoever, or to somebody who's here, which is not existing right now. And then I realized that I don't have to talk that loud because they're done with construction for the day, but it's been every day, including weekends, for weeks now. And I'm really glad they don't go far into the night. We have lived in places where people start super early, finish super late, if they finish at all, and you have to bang on doors and call police, and it's just super awkward. Super awkward. How did I get off? Oh, because I was talking so loudly. Okay, so I'm taking HSK2 on June 10th. I initially was going to take it mid-May, but after the HSK1, and more importantly after I started studying the HSK2 book, I realized how much harder it is. Thank goodness for that. But because difficulty level will push me, which is good because I have no self-motivation. I need, oh, that's why my computer screen wasn't lighting me up like normal. Anyway, I'm so easily distracted. So without the push, I will do nothing, and I don't want to do nothing because I want to progress. I'm a super lazy person without external goals. So I changed the date from mid-May to June 10th, and I like leaving the last week before the test as a review week. That worked out really well this time. I don't think I'll be able to review as much as I did this time. I literally went through all of the listenings from HSK1 before the test because they were much shorter. I've looked at the HSK2 transcripts and they are longer. There's still generally two people talking, but they talk a lot. They do a lot more exchanges back and forth and back and forth. So I don't know if that's going to work, but I do want to have a week of review so I can either catch up if I'm a little behind, or I can review the things that really, really stumped me. With that in mind, I essentially have, for some reason, I had two things happening this week. One is that I thought I would take a brain rest until Friday, which is today. The test was on Tuesday. Now we're on Friday. I thought I would rest, and yet on week 1 of my plan I listed this week. So I expected to not study and study at the same time. That's how brain fried I was when I made my plan. There's no particular reason why this is yellow. That was the only paper that I had accessible at the time. Don't read into the color, although I do like this color. There's no reason to it. Okay, so including this week, which I did start to study and then I fell off because my brain wasn't fully prepared for it. So including this week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full weeks of studying and then 1 review week. So there's 15 chapters in the book, and I'm done with chapter 1, although admittedly, because of where I am with the vocabulary, I didn't get a lot out of chapter 1. So, because I can't do a lot of chapter 1 yet. But I trudged through, I did what I could, and I'm going to keep going back to it. That's what I learned from HSK1, is that it's not so much that I get it right the first, it's not at all getting it right the first time, it's going back to it and reviewing. I put the dates, oh, I don't have the first one on me, do I? I think I showed you in the last gazillion videos. Like, I put dates when I work on a page. I generally try to do an entire page at a time. If not, oh, and yeah, I split the book up into chapters. I had to! My bag was too heavy. So this one already, I did this listening twice already, the 24th and the 25th. So I did that twice. So I'm trying to divide it into columns so I can hide a particular column and do it again without seeing it. And this one I can actually just put a full sheet of paper over. But with this one, where you circle it, I'm making sure to write the letters elsewhere or even on a separate paper instead of messing up the answers, because there were a bunch that I had circled the first time, not realizing coming back would be that fruitful. And it was really hard to redo again, because even if I erased it, my imprint was in there and that sucked. So I like putting the dates on it, and I have to get over it not being right the first time, me not understanding it the first time, and that the learning is very much so in the review. So I want to keep going back to the chapters. So I pretty much touched on every page of the workbook. No, there's one more page of the workbook in chapter 1. But considering the brain freeze that I had this week after I started studying, I'm pretty impressed that that even got done. I'm going to try to do a few pages of chapter 2 today in the workbook. I'll talk about the study book at some point, the course book at some point, but I'm not even sure I want to do that. Anyway, so 2 chapters a week is the minimum that I want to do as far as the HSK standard course book that worked really well studying with for HSK 1. So I'm assuming, since a lot of folks who are at level 5 and 6 had told me it was good, and I have now personal experience that was preparing me for the test, so be it. That's what I'm going to do. I have manipulated the transcripts to make them 18 font. I've got them on a flash drive, and tomorrow I'm going to go to a printing shop and I'm going to print them up, and that's where my shadowing will begin. So then I'm going to do all kinds of things out loud, probably not in a park like I mentioned the author talked about in Babel No More, but I'll probably do it around the apartment or wherever I am that is not audible to other people. Or if I'm in a park alone, I could see that happening. But it'll probably be at home mostly. And I want to listen to listening, whether I'm shadowing, looking at the transcript, or just listening to it. I really want to touch the listening once a day. I want to hear the language, even if it is a graded version with specific vocabulary. I want to hear the language once a day. I do tend to put a lot of pressure on what I do when I'm listening to the language, so I need to get over myself and just create more exposure. There's a lot of tracks in the HSK1 and the HSK2 book already that I have at my disposal. I can just go into one of them and press play anywhere at any time. I just have to remember to stop being so perfectionistic about learning languages. Honestly, I think that's been one of my problems that has stopped me from getting fluent in a language up to this point. As much as I say, I go on these long diatribes of fluency and accuracy, right? They're either balanced or fluency should be encouraged. Accuracy is far too encouraged, and it really discourages people from learning languages. And as a language teacher and as a writing teacher for years, I was just, people are being way too harsh about accuracy. Is the meaning being conveyed? Teacher, calm thyself, right? Ex-teacher, but still, I never internalized that for my own language learning. And I didn't realize that until I had these written exercises where I felt like I had to understand every word, and I felt like I had to get every exercise right all the time, which never happened. Well, there were some exercises that I could get 5 out of 5 right, but generally speaking, if understanding everything that was happening and getting them right at the same time had to happen, I never would have gotten past like chapter 4. I would have gotten past chapter 1 and 2 because they didn't have any listening. But beyond that, it was like, this is too hard. So I didn't even realize I was being accuracy harsh and perfectionistic on my own language learning. I really, really think that's one of the blocks that has stopped me all this time. I don't want to say it has been, because this is my block. This is in my brain. This is my affective filter going up higher than I even realized. How did it get so high and I didn't even know it was there? I have no idea. No freaking idea. Anyway, so that's part 1, is using the book to do those exercises and the listening. Massive listening. Why massive listening if that's not my goal, if communication in person's not my goal? Because that helps me see the language. Oh, I didn't mean for you to say that yet, but that helps me see the language. When I hear languages, I see the language, and I thought everybody did that until my husband and I were talking about it last week. Hope you're okay with me sharing your story. And he mentioned that he doesn't see language when he hears it. And I had to pause for a second or two, because I figured everybody saw language as they heard it. Do you see language when you hear it? I do. I don't know what to do with this information. And when I'm in a conversation and somebody says a really nice meaty word in English that I don't know, I'm in my head typing it out, trying to figure out how to spell it, which is kind of fun, especially if, I don't know. And sometimes I lose track of the conversation because I'm so focused on what it looks like. Again, these are things that stop me when I'm learning a second language. These are the things that my brain does without my approval. So hearing the listening actually helps me see the language. Like, I was tempted when I get my flashcards into level 7 of Lightner, I was tempted to turn them around, and instead of doing Hansa to English, I was thinking of doing Pinyin or just English into the Hansa characters. And honestly, with the listening, I don't think I need to do that, because that forces me to see the Hansa characters anyway. Do I do them correctly yet? No, but it piques the curiosity so that when I see it again, I go, oh, and absorb it like a sponge. So it's a sick way of pushing myself to learn how to learn the look of the characters and the words, but it seems to be a good way, so I'm going to keep going with the listening. Lots and lots of listening. I still have the Lightner schedule that I started on March 21st because I have not hit 64 days and there's no reason to start over. So I'm just going to keep going with the 64 days. I'm on day 23 despite the fact that March 21st was quite a bit longer ago than 23 days. Again, I'm not going for every day, I'm going for most days. Because there's even some days, I think, when I'm doing the course book or the workbook, but I'm not doing the Lightner cards. The other thing that I'm doing is I want to transition my note cards over into color coding for tone. I don't think tone is as important for my purposes as for other purposes, nor do I think it's super important at this particular level. I know there's people that will argue with me, but between the tones that change tones when they're next to other tones and other things that happen with tones, it's not priority number one. However, having said that, realizing how freaking visual I am, I've decided to color code my flashcards going forward. So I'm color coding the Hansa character. Instead of putting, like in the old ones, let me show you the old ones. In here, I put the tones on the side, and then I'd look at this and then like figure out the syllables. 1, 2, I think is this one, right? I think. And then this is the first tone, this is the second tone. So I kind of have to move these ideas over here. So I've kind of circumvented that and just put the tone in the color. Now for me, you can create your own tone colors, but I went with tone 1 being the flat tone being black, 2 the rising tone being green, 3 the falling rising being blue, and the angry number 4 being red. So you can tell this is the falling tone. And then I also decided to put the Pinyin and the English in the same color as well. Now that does make it tricky. If I'm holding an individual card, as you may see here, it shows through. So I have to remember to hold multiple cards. If I'm holding them up and doing this kind of thing, I have to hold them together because it will bleed through. Which isn't so bad if I'm on the back, but if I'm on the front, I'll start to, do you see it here? I'll start to see it. So this doesn't give you a total indication of, let me find one that has multiple tones on it. I know these are going to have them because I'm starting to do that with the new HSK2 cards that I'm making. I want to eventually go back through and do this to all of the HSK1 cards too, but I'm going to focus on the HSK2 ones for now and slowly go back and do all of them, I hope. Now, my favorite place, you can't see the thickness of these cards, but they are actually the craziest dense. It's like putting 2 1A4 printer paper together, if not 3 of them, Like, they're really sturdy. And I didn't realize that until I went when I was in Japan and when I was in, more so when I was in London. I was looking for more flashcards, and I picked up flashcards and was so disappointed by their thickness. And my supplier, my dealer in Shanghai, has stopped selling these. So I had to go online, measure these, and try to match them, but they don't really tell you the thickness when you buy them, so I'm going to end up going through like 5 or 6 packs of, or ordering 5 or 6 packs before I can put my hands on it and find the right, I hope it's only 5 or 6 before I find the right thickness, because these are so cool. I bought like 3 before I left, because I moved from that neighborhood. I bought 3 packs of like 150 before I left, and I think I only have about 200 left, which will get me through HSK 2, but now I want to redo HSK 1, and I still have probably HSK 3 before I'll stop the HSK route, so I might have different size flashcards. Again, perfectionist. Ew! If you're carrying them around with a rubber band or hairband, that's awful. Different size flashcards will fall through and all kinds of stuff. So this will give you an indication. This is the word DD. It's younger brother. It's also a very popular app, car riding app, like Uber. Basically, it's the Uber of China right now. Is it all of China? I know it's in Shanghai and some other places, but I don't know exactly. Uber's gone from China, at least for now. Anyway, so you can see this is one word. It has 2 syllables. I still like putting the syllables there, even though in this one you can see it has 2 syllables. And this one's the 4th tone, and this one's the 1st tone. I like this. I like this. It helps with syllables too, but I think even if I don't realize it, this one's a little harder to read because this is blue and this is black, and this is jia, 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 jia. Oh, what just happened? Oh, I think I found a flaw in my system, because the 1st tone is black, but also no tone is black also. Poop! I need a new color for no tone. I just realized that when I was looking at the pinion. This means older sister. Okay, I didn't intentionally do older sister and older brother together, but that just kind of ended up happening. They're both 2 tones, but they're the different ones. Ooh, the boy is angrier. The older brother is angrier because he's got the angry red tone, falling tone, and the older sister is not. She's much nicer. But I have to deal with that black color for 2 different tones. Shoot. Okay, I gotta think about that. Not a top priority, but I figure because I am so visual, if I can get the color in my head even without realizing it, I think that may help eventually. It can't hurt. If nothing else, in some of the words, it helps me see the syllables. Although the syllables are getting easier within a word, it's sentences that are still tricky. But I've done entire videos on that, and you guys have been very patient with my spacing issues. Anyway, so the goal is to do the flashcards according to the Leitner schedule at least, 4 to 5 times a week. Once my brain freeze stops, probably tonight, tomorrow, post-test, I hope to do it most days of the week. It's super easy. It's maybe 15-20 minutes. I'm trying to recopy some of the flashcards now, so it's taking a little bit longer, but generally speaking, the Leitner box is super fast. The listening in the workbook takes forever, but is super helpful. The vocabulary and the reading is pretty enjoyable, so I always forget to time that. Yeah, reading's enjoyable. You heard me. That's the whole point of why I want to read, because that's the thing that motivates me in any language, and I'm really kicking myself for not realizing this 20 years ago when I tried to... Wait, when did I try to learn my first second language? High school, but we were forced to, so I don't even think I thought about how I learned in high school. So I was like 15, 16 years old. Did I take one in 8th grade? I don't remember. Wow, that really sucks that I can't remember that. But I took it because we had to, not because I wanted to. There's not a whole lot redeeming about my high school experience. So it's not that it was just the foreign language teacher. It's that I really disliked that environment. Really, really good school, apparently, that I learned much later on after I left and realized the skills I got from there, but it was socially very stifling environment. Very stifling. That is my computer screen that you're seeing in my glasses. These are the blue glasses that don't look blue. Bummer. Anyway, so that is my plan, is to do 2 chapters a week minimum, to do the Lightner cards about once a day, if not longer. And here I did write the goals in general. See, on this I wrote how many weeks, how many chapters I need to do per week in the workbook, and daily listening and shadowing, return to chapters later to review, so I'm constantly coming back and doing different parts of it again in the daily Lightner. I'm supposed to keep track of how many chapters in the workbook that I do on a weekly basis, and I guess I haven't failed at that yet because the end of week 1 is tomorrow, so I still have time to at least start touching chapter 2 and get as far as I can with that. I am much further behind in the HSK2 vocabulary when I'm starting the course book than what I did for HSK1, because I was about 8 or 9 months into playing with the language before I touched the course book in HSK1. With this new vocabulary, I'm only about 25% of the way through the vocabulary, and I'm starting the course book anyway. So it's going to be a very different experience, where in the course book I'm going to be seeing a lot of vocabulary that I don't know. So I may slightly switch how I prioritize what new cards go into the decks every day. We'll see what happens with that. Anyway, I hope this has been an informative update of my study plan. I'm even more nervous about HSK2 because it seems like even just from the first chapter that the stakes have been raised a millionfold. And that's probably good because HSK1 was far too easy, and yet I felt kind of lost most of the time. Figure that one out. Yeah. If you're studying Chinese, I would love your ideas on how you split up the HSK tests time-wise. When did you take them? June may still be too soon for me, but the one I can't take it in July for reasons that aren't interesting for this context, which led me to August, which felt like it was too long. So I'm thinking I will take the HSK2 in June, which I actually had to pay the equivalent of like $10 for to switch the date. Bah! And then the HSK3, I have to sign up for that. I'm thinking November for that. That way, hopefully by the end of the year, I'll get the score for that, and I'll finish off the year having done HSK 1, 2, and 3. And hopefully 2018 will be more reading authentic texts than course books, because I think by then I'll have a substantial amount of vocabulary to at least get me started. And I'll have a very good system for learning new vocabulary, so I'll know how to learn this after having done this for a year full on. So I think I'll be able to approach new texts, even if I can't fully read them. I think I'll have the tools at my disposal to know how to approach them, as opposed to when I started HSK1 this year, the beginning of this year, after months and months of just playing with different aspects of the language, it was too hard to even identify words. So I think that will be taken care of. Okay, this video has gotten way too long. My goal for May, it's not May yet, it's in 2 days, but my goal for May originally was to only make 5-minute videos. I don't know if I can do that, so I'm still tossing it around in my head. Make 5-minute videos. So I'd make 5, stop it, make 5, stop it, and put part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, because I seem to make 20-minute videos more frequently than anything else. Nah, whatever. It's not that kind of channel. It's not. My other channel that I have sadly neglected for months on end because I've got 6 million other projects, is like seconds of. It's got videos, random silent videos that I've put really cheesy music to, that they're all under a minute. If you really have that short of a attention span, 1, you wouldn't have made it to this point in the video, and 2, feel free to go over there. Or, hey, let's do more shameless plugs. I've got Expat Rewind podcast, where myself and other expats and geopats are reading and reflecting on our impressions that we put online of our first year experiences in a country. I also have Armchair Expat, where I ping back and forth between reviewing other expat and geopat creative projects that they put online that are awesome, because I don't review stuff that's crap, and I also do some research on what people are saying about those of us who are crazy enough to live outside of our home countries. I think that's it. Oh, I only have 4 projects. And work. And life. And a lovely, lovely, lovely husband. All right, I don't know where this is going, so I'm just going to say goodbye for now. This is my study plan. What's yours? We'd love to hear your feedback on what you're doing. Satyen!